Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another unboxing Umbraco video. This time it's for Umbraco 9.1, the first minor release of Umbraco CMS on ASP.NET Core. The release train is full speed ahead. 6 weeks after the latest release, 8.17, we've got a new one for Umbraco 9, so very exciting. To help me show off this new version, I've got a couple of colleagues with me. My name is Rune, by the way. I'm product communications producer at Umbraco. And would you like to introduce yourselves, gentlemen?
Hello, I'm Warren. I'm DevRel developer experience as well in the HQ. But we'll talk about some demos as well today. I'll hand it over to you, Seb.
Hello, Sebastian. I am responsible for all things contribution to Umbraco. Pull requests.
Yay.
Are you still head of PR?
Head of PR.
Very nice.
Yes.
All right. We've got a release blog post out by Bjarke from the core CMS team, and it's quite a long one. There is a lot of cool things in 9.1. There's a big new feature, a lot of smaller features, and a ton of improvements and bug fixes. So I think we should just dive into it. Warren, I know you have quite a long list of things to.
Yes. Yep. Let me share my screen and let's jump in. So first things up. The biggest feature coming to 9.1 is the version cleanup, or as we've had in the community previously, we've had the unversion package from Matt Brailsford and Soren Kottel. But basically, this functionality is very key to most Umbraco sites. It makes sense that we have this functionality in Umbraco. So I'm going to show you how to set it up and configure it, and it's relatively trivial. So I have my 9.1 site, and then for the application settings, so I can obviously do this in app settings.json, app settings.development, and production and staging for each environment. But under the Umbraco section, I've got one under CMS, I've got one for content, and then I've got this content version cleanup policy. Out of the box, if you've got a new 9.1 site, then obviously this enable cleanup is already turned on for you. If you're upgrading, you'll need to go and turn this on or set this. Then we have these two configuration values. The first one is keep all versions newer than days. So I'm always going to keep the last 7 days no matter what. Obviously, I could set this down to 1 or 0 if I really wanted to. And then outside of those 7 days, for the next, I have to get this right, I think, for the next 90 days after those 7 days, I only want to keep one version per day. And that's across all doc types, all content, on everything. So that's how we set it up, nice and easy. But if I want some granular control, then I might have, wrong browser.
I might have an annoying question, Warren.
Go on.
How about past the 97 days?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think anything that is after the 97 days is then just cleaned up. It's like you no longer care. If it's older than 97 days, then just get rid of it. And that's my assumption anyway.
We'd have to check with Paul. Maybe we should just explain exactly what is being cleaned up.
Yes, true. Let me go show. So for each content node, let's just move you lot out of the way. In this history, each time you save and publish a node, we create a version so that you have a way to roll back in history and go back in time. For some nodes, it doesn't make sense that every time you make a very teeny tiny change, that historically in Umbraco, we always keep every single version. So over time, the more and more you create content, and more you save and publish, and the longer or older your Umbraco site gets, the bigger the Umbraco database table is going to get, because we're going to just keep storing all this information.
Yeah.
And most of the time, most of these versions or variants like that you want to roll back to never really gets used or is trivial. So it makes sense that we have some kind of scheme now to automatically help you clean this up. So we keep your database size small, and we only keep the versions that you really care about, that you want to roll back to.
Yeah, it's really great. I'm just looking at the content history for the blog post for 9.1, and I think there's something like 36.
Yeah, 40. maybe you don't need 36. Maybe you only need like
revisions
one from the day before, and today's one.
Yeah.
It gets more relevant as well these days when we have large blobs of JSON that we store for the block list editor or nested content, for example. So we're storing a lot of data each time you save.
Yeah, good point, Seb. However, for example, I've got the starter kit installed. Maybe the blogs, in my case, are press releases, and for I don't know, security or whatever concerns, the lawyers at the company have said you need to keep every single revision for whatever reason. I could then configure that to be ignored, so to speak, from our global settings. So we could go to the document types, or we could go to blog or blog post even. And then under permissions, we now have this history cleanup section. And then I can say, don't ever clean up any blog post doc types ever. Or I could leave it on, and then I could give it different configuration rules for this specific doc type. So I could say, keep all versions newer than 30 days. And I don't know, keep the last 352 for the entire year, one for each day of the year. So I have fine-grained control now over each doc type, so which is really nice. But the final thing,
and that's
go on.
That obviously supersedes the configuration in the.
Yes, this wins out. Yeah. So we set the global first in the app settings or environment variables, or however you like to set your configuration for V9 sites. Then we have control at this granular level, and this wins out. So yeah, this takes precedence. However, maybe there is something that you are cleaning up, and I don't know, maybe like, for example, in your blog post that you're working on the .com site, Runa, if I go to this new UI for the rollback, you can see that I've got some
nice.
versions, and then I can click them to see obviously the differences like we have done previously. One, it's now in a nice bigger window, so I can actually see what's going on, which is good. But you can see I've got these prevent cleanup buttons. So I can say, whatever you do, I can then click this button, and I can say, make sure you never delete this specific version, no matter what the rules happen. So if it was outside the scope of the 7 days and the 90 days that I've configured, this will still always stick around. I've pinned this version or this specific variant or version of the node. So that is, I don't know what we've called it. I don't think we've called it unversion. I think we've called it version cleanup internally, but big kudos
history cleanup, I think. Yeah.
History cleanup, that's it. But yeah, big kudos to Paul and the team for doing this feature. But yeah, again, Matt Brailsford and Soren Kottel for doing obviously the community package leading up to this, which is obviously heavily inspired us anyway. So kudos around.
And then that was, I think it was created for Umbraco 7. Right?
Yeah, I think maybe
earlier,
even older.
maybe even.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And it just makes sense that we have it in core now. I don't know why we didn't do it sooner. But then the next thing I want to show.
It's important to say that we used to make a version for each save, so if you don't publish. But since V8, we only make a version when you actually publish. So the latest version that you're working on is a version. the previously published version is a version, and so we've minimized it a little bit in V8, but now we can really minimize it.
Yeah. Good point, Sid.
Nice.
So this next one comes from our intern on the CMS team, Nikolai. And this come about from a bug that we was having where a specific user was set to a Swedish locale in the back office. We couldn't reproduce the bug, and originally the bug report didn't contain that the user was set in the Swedish locale, so we wasn't able to reproduce it. So this next thing is, if I go up to here in the help section, top right, you can see I've got this new section called system info. And if I expand it, we get some very useful debugging information, either for ourselves as the HQ, so when we're getting bug reports coming in, but also for yourselves in terms of maintaining your own sites. So I can see that I'm running on Windows 10 on my machine, but obviously if I was hosting my Umbraco 9 site on a Linux box, obviously I would get some Linux operating system here. You can see what version of .NET Core framework or .NET Core I'm running on. You can see I'm running .NET 5. I can see the language that is default. I can see what my current culture is, what version of Umbraco, if I was running on IIS or Kestrel, so which is the .NET Core embedded or cross-platform web server. And then I can see what browser and then what browser operating system. So super useful. So if we didn't have this information, or if we had this information when that user reported this very specific bug with the Swedish culture, this would have helped us at least in terms of reproducing the problem a lot quicker.
Nice.
Handy feature or handy thing that I like about this is that you can see that we've got this nice copy icon. So if I click it, I can then go to, let's just GitHub. Let's just quickly go to our repo and create a issue. And then I'm going to put it in the specifics. So I've just clicked copy from there and it's in my clipboard, paste it. And then I've got a nice, pretty HTML table that Seb and everyone else can easily read for our bug reports.
Super useful for us, yes.
That's so cool.
Rather, it'll save us rather than going, hang on, let me copy.
Yeah.
Exactly. It would just look a mess. So even if, even if I do that, it still does the same anyway. So super nice. Well done, Nikolai, intern. Thanks for that one. Yep, he's on a roll. What was my next thing up? This one is not, I suppose it's a little niche, but it shows the extensibility of Umbraco in general, is that there is now a way for you to, so when you create a document type, by default, we normally create a matching template. And by default, we scaffold it out with the model and some general markup. When we now have full control over that now. So if you want to, by default, always append or do something when you're scaffolding or generating those templates, you can now. So I will quickly show you how that can be done. So I have a class, call it whatever, but in my case, I've called it custom default view content provider. And I'm implementing the interface IDefaultViewContentProvider. content provider. Then I need to implement this method. And then this gets passed in the model class. So when it's generating our template, it knows about what model class it's going to be, the namespace and the alias. And then I can use a string builder, and then I could use these model class names, the namespace, to build up my template. So we could use a string builder. But in my case, I've just decided I don't want any of that using stuff. I just want to print out, I don't know, my awesome default template for blah. So then in my startup, I'm going to modify my configure services. And then in this, where we're configuring the services and adding Umbraco, the back office and the composers, I've added this line. So set default view content provider. I give it the type of my class that I've just created. And then with this running, let's go back to my site. Let's create, I don't know, unboxing. And then when I save and publish, I am going to get a new template called unboxing. And you can see there's my template markup.
There you go.
Yeah, like I said, it's maybe a little niche. However, it shows the extensibility and power of Umbraco generally. We like things to be pluggable and extensible. So if you have a use case for this, now's the time to jump in and modify that. So that was the main 3 demos, but there's a couple of minor things that I wanted to mention. A couple of bugs got fixed. The timeout setting for the back office. So you used to, I don't know, by default, it was 20 minutes. Previous to this, it wasn't being honored. So you would update the configuration value. And if I set it to say lower than 20 minutes and set it to, I don't know, 2 or 5, then it wouldn't log me out at 2 minutes or 5 minutes. So that's now fixed. Nice. This one is a performance bug or suggestion that we got from Patrick Demouge here in regards to we're loading quite a lot of XML for the back office language translation. So obviously the back office can be localized, but we load all localized variants into .NET Core's memory. And if you only log it into the back office, say in English, then it doesn't make sense for me to load in the German and the Danish and the, I don't know, Welsh language back office variants. So that's just an optimization. Loses a lot less memory. I think it's this next tab here. Nikolai, again, has done some, it's not huge amounts, but it's still all adds up.
It definitely does, especially if you're running on smaller machines, right?
Yep, exactly.
This can actually have quite an impact. So really nice.
Yeah, good work. And this last one was that there was an issue upgrading from 8.17 up to 9. So this migration state is now fixed. So those are the key bugs and features that I wanted to demo. So I'll hand it over to you, Runa.
All right, then. Got a couple more here that want to demo. They are also in the blog post, so you can go there and read about them. Just screen share here. So first one to show is a new 404 page for Umbraco. The old one, I think it's been around forever as well. It said it was very ugly, and it even said left intentionally ugly. So while that's, I mean, I like the tone of it, actually. I think it's quite fun. But if that makes it into production, you can see some people might not find it as fun when it's an end client or a visitor to a website that actually encounters this, right? Plus, it's also pretty easy to see that it's a Umbraco installation. So what has happened with 9.1 is that if we just let's go to Umbraco, for example. I can't even spell Umbraco.
Umbraco.
So now it just shows a nice, clean page not found, which, I mean, of course, you can change this out. And actually, if we go into the config here and update the debug, let me see if I can find that down here, and set that to true, and then go back to the page, just do a refresh. You can see when we're in debug mode, we actually get a little bit more information. So now it states that it's an Umbraco document why it's not finding it. And very, very helpful is that you actually get a link to how you can replace this page. So if you think this is still a bit ugly, or you want to make it a bit more on brand or whatever you want to do, there's a link to the documentation on how to actually go in and change this, right? So really, really useful little feature. And I actually think it looks quite nice. And then, I mean, I just want to highlight how incredibly fast it is to update things in the config in .NET Core. Look at that. I think there's no restart of the site or anything. I think it's pretty amazing. So really cool little feature. Another one that is actually incredibly useful for me as I work a lot in the back office. Let's just see if we can find one where we have a rich text editor. So the rich text editor has had a few updates. One of them is when you insert links. Previously, if you didn't select a piece of text, like I could do this and then obviously create a link for this one. But if you just had the cursor and then inserted a link, you'd get the dialog. You could select the content item, media item, put in the URL, and then nothing would happen because you hadn't selected any text, which I have to say I've done quite a few times.
Yep.
Which means you then have to go in, select the text, and then add the link again. Just really annoying. Now with 9.1, what happens is if we go in and, for example, want to link to the homepage, add that, it now adds a nice little link here with the name of the node. Obviously, we can go in and change this. This also works for media. It even works for, let's say we want to link to the documentation for custom error pages here. If I do that down here, add the link without selecting in text. And now it just inserts the link text as well. And then we can, of course, go in and change that. Nice. So yeah, just really, really helpful. I've encountered this a lot, so I think it's a really cool thing to get fixed. Last thing I wanted to mention is we're going to mention Søren again, Søren Kottel. He's been very active on this release. He's made some updates for the examine management dashboard in the back office. So if we want to go in and have a look at what's actually in our examine index, we've got this debugging view in here. We can go in and we can search for Umbraco, for example, and it's updated.
Yeah, 1A.
Fair enough. there we go.
You're still trying to do a 404, weren't you?
yeah, exactly. So he's updated the UI a bit, some CSS and stuff to make it look a little cleaner, behave nicely. And he's also added a really nice feature where you can go in and if you want to view more fields in this debugging view, click fields up here. We can actually go in and we can add more columns to the view here. So if we wanted to, for example, see what type of templates are added, you can see it immediately adds a column, template IDs, and we can actually go in and see which templates are assigned to the different ones. So obviously it's super useful for kind of having a look at what's in the index, but also comparing between different nodes. It can actually be quite useful to see what the difference is in there. So really nice, nice feature. Cool. Let's just jump back to the blog post because most of what we've shown here is actually created by the community. There's just been a Hacktoberfest, right, Sebastian? And it's been quite busy.
It has been. We've had good quality contributions this year. A lot of spam from the previous years has been cleared out. So it used to be pretty easy to just spam a random repository with your spelling correction and earn your t-shirt. And this year the organizers, the DigitalOcean, have really made sure that everybody needs to opt in to Hacktoberfest, and that spammers who get reported immediately get removed and banned forever. So we've only had actual contributions from our community, which is really what we've always wanted to encourage, which is amazing. As you can see, there's seven new contributors, including one who's not really that new. Jesper Meinshausen is our ex-colleague, but he's new to. Now that he works somewhere else, he's new to contributing to Umbraco from the outside, which is great. And he actually did some of my favorite pull requests, which is I guess they're listed for this release, but they are important for all the next releases as well. He made some Cypress tests for testing out things like updating a user, deleting languages, all the things that we can run before we release Umbraco, so that we know that it still works the way we expect it to work. So really good. Yep, I see Laura Nito in there, who did some fixes for the image cropper. So media with crops didn't work as expected anymore in V9. So she helped fix that. I think Ibrahim here, who has 2 PRs, was featured in a U profile recently. Go read his story as well. He is from
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, was it? Or the Emirates? One of those. Cool to see your contribution outside of our usual demographic. And he's very happy and enthusiastic, and he keeps coming back. So really cool. He also made a package. This is what Hacktoberfest is about to me, encouraging people to help us out. And in the process, when they learn that they can help us out, they learn that it's actually pretty fun to do as well.
Yeah, hopefully they've caught the bug, all these new contributors.
Right, yes.
And kudos to DigitalOcean for actually addressing the issues and concerns of the previous years. I remember there was a lot of talk about Hacktoberfest maybe not being the best thing for maintainers. So it's just, I mean, for us at least, it has really shown to have helped a ton.
It's been pretty good in the last few years, and we have to be fair, we have fewer contributions this year, but they are all of much higher quality. So I'm actually much happier than. It's always fun to throw numbers around. 200, whatever, and it's also good to say. But there are 200 high quality fixes as well.
That's amazing. I'm just wondering, is this a new record?
It might just be.
With 43 PRs.
43 PRs. Jan
really
has been helping out from the accessibility point of view. All of our views in the back office are translatable, and the fallback text, you can put them in the view so that if there's no translation, it will be read out instead of, otherwise it would just show you the translation key or something, and that's just really odd. So if you're working on, Welsh just got updated, but previously, if you were working on a Welsh version of Umbraco, you would see a lot of weird texts because translations weren't up to date. And now most of them, I think he's done another 12 pull requests after this. Most of them will show you an actual fallback text in English, so that you will at least have something to go on. But yes, 43 might be a new record for a single release.
Well done. And this has also resulted in our forest growing quite a bit.
Got another, 27 new trees in there. And I think we should look at it and have a look at our plot. 27 trees, yes. Our total has grown until up to 5,300 now, and it's getting becoming quite the forest. I wouldn't want it to have it in my backyard or on my balcony at least.
Can we visit it someday?
Well,
I think it's actually spread across three different locations, right?
Different locations, but I think we should. I would love to go to South America and go walk in our forest.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Good.
Yep. Well, I think that about does it for the release here. What's left to say? I mean, 9.1 is, of course, available on Umbraco Cloud. So if you create a new project there, 9.1, you can also upgrade your existing Umbraco 9 projects to 9.1. It's all listed here in the blog post, how to go about that. And then it's available on NuGet for everyone else. It's also linked to installation, documentation, upgrades, and of course the release notes here. So get upgrading. Umbraco 9.1 is really great. And just as a little side note, most of what you see in this release that's not marked as V9 will also make it to Umbraco 8 at some point. I know you're working on getting that release ready, right, Sebastian?
Yeah, we're trying to get, so 8.18 is in the works. We're trying to merge all the remaining open pull requests. And we don't really have a date for it, but 8.18 will be the last version of 8, or the last minor version of 8 at least, and we'll then do patching and security releases only.
But you will get history cleanup and all the other.
You will get history cleanup as well. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining me and taking a look at Umbraco 9.1. It's a great release, so congrats to the core team on making it happen, and definitely on the community for being a huge part of this awesome release.
Really cool.
All right, have a good one.
Cool.
See you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.